Hey guys, I'm in the final days of my enamel pin Kickstarter. We are at 85% as of recording this message. So please, if you guys are able to support it, link down in the description and in the first comment. But let's get into the video. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Katelyn, and today we are kicking off the second, well, I guess not kicking off, wrapping up? Kicking off? This is a video when the week's already done. So, wrapping up. I don't know. You know what I mean. Anyway, we are starting our second week video for OC-Tober. So today we are doing the second OC from my Fox Among Hounds series, Zahra. So Zahra has also been around since pretty early in development. She has had quite a few changes in looks, and here is her at least most recent concept, again, kind of back in 2018 when I did the Ina one that you guys saw in the last video. But I want to take this look and update it a little bit. I do really like how this design looked, but I have some changes that I want to make, maybe add some new colors, change it up a bit, and then you guys get to see and hear more about her as well. You'll also get to meet her companion, which is pretty different from Ina's, but let's go ahead and jump in and get these started. Oh, actually, one more quick plug before we start. Make sure that you guys post your OCs over on Instagram or Twitter using the hashtag KMMyOC, because for the whole last part of this month, I'm going to be drawing your guys' OCs. So if you want a chance to have your OC drawn, you'll want to post it on Twitter or Instagram with the hashtag, and yeah, then I might pick it to draw. Anyway, let's jump in now and learn about Zahra. All right, week 2 of OC-Tober, here we go. So time to introduce you all to my other main leading lady in my Fox Among Hounds comic, Zahra. Like I said in Ina's video, you'll be getting kind of a bit more in-depth insight into Zahra and who she is, and basically it's going to be really hard for me to avoid spoilers. It was a little bit easier for Ina because I was willing to talk a lot more about some of her backstory stuff. But there's a lot with Zahra that really kind of toes the line on spoiler territory. A lot of her character development moments and just her overall development in general really cycles around some major spoilers, so I'm going to try my best. So let's just kick it off with some basics about Zahra. So Zahra is a 21-year-old princess from the Hound Nation. She is a fit 5'10" or 177.8 centimeters and about 155 pounds or 70.3 kilos. She is currently the heir to the throne and lives in the Hound Nation capital. Her family consists of her father, who's kind of like a pharaoh. I'm trying to think of a different term, not like a pharaoh, but since they are kind of based off of ancient Egypt in a way, we're just kind of working with pharaoh for now, but trying to think of a different word for it. But anyway, basically her father, the pharaoh, she has her mother, she also has an older brother and a younger brother, so she's the middle child of 3. Growing up in the royal family, Zahra was enthralled with her lessons and quickly took to her studies. She felt, as the middle child and kind of the only daughter, that she needed to prove herself to win her father's favor and potentially be dubbed the heir to the throne. So she really accelerated with her, I guess, more royal trainings, kind of the opposite of Ina, but Zahra really enjoyed doing the war game training. She kind of learned the ins and outs of running the country, sat in on a lot of major meetings that her father was a part of, and she kind of quickly grew to become the favorite royal child amongst the court and generals. Like, her mother and father didn't really verbalize it, I guess. They didn't say like, oh, this child we favor more, but people in the royal court made sure that others knew that, they had a favorite royal child for sure. So outside of her studies, Zahra also participated in a lot of other royal hobbies, I guess you could say. Since she was younger, Zahra has been in training with a royal sword master and participates in yearly sparring competitions. She really enjoys kind of becoming fit and muscular. She doesn't want to just be kind of a lean twig. She really wants to stand on her own and have some power behind her strikes. So she trains a lot. I know they don't really have like bow flexes back then, but she basically did what she could to build up strength. She would do like the sword fighting with her sword master, but also participated in more hand-to-hand combat training. She just wanted to be a well-rounded warrior, since the Hound Nation is kind of like a war nation, very militaristic. But either way, she did participate in these yearly sparring competitions, both for hand-to-hand and for sword skills. There was a couple years that she was able to nab like a first or second title, but she doesn't really win every year. She is strong and she is good, but they don't really give her specialty royal treatment. They're not going to give her a first place medal. She's got to work for it, you know? But one thing that Zahra always made sure would happen in these competitions was she always planned to beat her older brother. She wanted to make sure to beat him every year, and so far there's only been maybe 1 or 2 years that he's bested her. But she's been working hard to basically keep at his level and make sure he kind of knows he's got a good competitor in his sister. Another royal thing that I guess she did was she also really enjoyed breeding and raising spotted hounds. So spotted hounds are the common mount within the Hound Nation and are primarily used by the upper class and warriors. They're not really like workhorses like the elks. Could be used as more work animals and riding animals as well. But spotted hounds are kind of, I guess for royalty, they're a status symbol, but then they're also very fierce creatures that are used for the warrior class. I'll talk about them more a little bit later, but Zahra basically raised litters of them and tried to breed very strong and powerful spotted hounds. So you can see I'm drawing one right now, but she ended up choosing Lila in her last litter about 3 years ago, and they've been close companions ever since. But I'll talk more about Lila a little bit later, but I mean, you can see I'm already starting to sketch her. Hey, really quick, super informal editing Katelyn here. I realized I said Lila for the whole video when I meant to say Layla. I don't know where my brain was, but her name is Layla. For the hound, Layla, not Lila. Just insert Layla whenever you hear me say Lila. Anyway, back to the video. But basically, outside of her royal work life, Zahra was able to live a life of luxury basically her whole life. She had personal instructors, riches, feasts, women, anything she wanted, she could have. And she also got to travel the world as well. She has been to each nation across the continent as a diplomatic stand-in for her father, so she has basically seen the world and most of the nation's capitals that surround them on the continent. Whenever she travels, the nations kind of roll out the red carpet for her. She goes to diplomatic meetings, but then they're closely followed by great feasts in honor of her arrival. And Zahra, for a long time, I know this isn't like a major spoiler, but it's kind of delving into more backstory a bit. But Zahra, for a long time, thought that these gestures were much more showing how great a relationship the hounds had with these other nations. She thought that it was just a very good sign that these other nations show such favor to them whenever they visit them and meet with their leaders. But what she didn't know is it was much more out of fear rather than a kind gesture. These nations really feared that if they did not treat hound royalty well, that basically the hounds would end up turning on them just like they did to foxes many years ago. So there is kind of an underlying fear within the world of the Hound Nation because of just the major war that happened between the foxes and the hounds, and then the eventual invasion of the foxes. So that's kind of left a little bit of a scar on the world. But for sure, Zahra is kind of, at least in the beginning of the story, not really aware of this. She's been raised within the royal family, doesn't know much more about, she does know a lot about the current political climate and how her nation is doing compared to others, or like kind of the relationship between the hounds and the other nations, but it's kind of a little bit watered down by her father. So just a little touch on that. But anyway, going back to kind of her relationship with her family and her father and such, you know, throughout all these years of dedication and doing all these political trials, I guess you could say, you know, visiting other countries, meeting with the war generals and other royalty leadership within the court, she had basically proven herself. Zahra has shown that she is a very adept and cool-headed leader. She basically proved that she could easily take on the role as kind of a pharaoh figure within the nation, and her father did notice that. So it's a custom that they announce the next heir to the throne when the current youngest sibling turns 13. So it had already been announced that the royal family wasn't going to have any more children past the 3. So a few days after her youngest brother's 13th birthday, Zahra's father announced that he was nominating her to be heir to the throne, despite her having an older brother. It isn't always a birthright inheritance within the Hound Nation, but a lot of the times in previous generations, I would say like 90% of the time it does go to the firstborn. So it's been kind of like an unspoken rule, not rule, that the firstborn typically expects to get the seat for the throne, but it hasn't been completely unheard of that another sibling will receive the blessing for the throne. But even with that, Zahra's older brother was furious to hear about that. He was expecting to be the heir to the throne. He was expecting to have that spot, and to find out that his younger sister specifically was the one to get it, that just made him furious, and it basically set him into motion to plot a way to win that title back from her and be the true heir that he thought he was basically promised by birthright. So yeah, that's kind of like a general origin story for Zahra. I know I want to tell you guys so much more. You don't know how hard it is for me to not say anything more. Like, I feel I've already revealed quite a bit. But she has a very interesting story, and I think it's going to be really cool. But let me talk about Lila a bit, because we talked about Eden a lot in the previous video for Ina. So let's talk about her companion, Lila. So, like I said earlier, Zahra has had Lila for about 3 years, and Zahra would raise and breed these different spotted hounds over the years, but felt particularly a special bond with Lila. She was one of the largest and toughest female hounds Zahra had really seen. So she kind of had quite the commanding presence as a puppy, and was for sure like the strongest of her litter. And Zahra just couldn't help relating to this like proud, strong little puppy. And she just was like, you know, this one's mine. This is my spotted hound, and she's gonna be my companion for life. So after Zahra had announced that this would be her pup, she basically took Lila into very intensive training to learn both the ins and outs of being a war mount and also like a very well-trained royal hound. So Lila can both be a very fierce, combat-ready spotted hound, but she's also kind of a giant doof. You know, on her off days when she can just kind of have fun with Zahra, she tends to lounge around the house, maybe play in the little ponds amongst the royal courts. She pesters the palace staff, and then she also loves going out to the river and chasing sticks with Zahra. That's probably one of her favorite pastimes. So she can be a very fierce and aggressive creature, but for sure she is also just the sweetest, biggest, doofiest dog ever, and I love her. A bit more also about spotted hounds for you is they come in kind of 3 primary colors. So black is reserved for royalty and generals. The black hounds are kind of seen as sacred beasts within the culture. They're basically on so many jewelry pieces, religious like iconography, lots of things. They're kind of seen as the direct descendants of the hound goddess. So the black hounds are very coveted and are basically reserved for royalty and higher class people within the nation. Next from there, we have the dark brownish red, and those are for high-ranking battlefield generals or warriors. Those ones are very specific to war. And then finally, we have the tans, which are for like general cavalry and can also be seen in the higher middle class families. They are primarily, most of the hounds are primarily used for war, but a lot of middle class families also have them for protection or just because they were able to afford it. It kind of is also a status symbol to have a hound, even if it's not like a black one for royalty. If you are able to have one in your household, it shows that you're pretty well off and can afford such a large beast that has quite the appetite. And then basically all other people within the nation tend to use oxen. Like, I'm still kind of developing the look for these. It's not just going to be a straight normal ox, but those generally are used for more farming or pulling carts. Not everyone has them. It's still very much like lower class tend to not possess any animals. Maybe they have like some type of sheep or pig, but any type of larger creature for sure is seen much more within the upper lower class and then into the middle class. But yeah, hounds are basically one of the most common creatures within the society. The society overall is pretty well off, so you would see quite a few on the streets, even if they're mostly the tans. But for sure you'd see them on the battlefield, which is scary as hell, because if you could imagine just a line of these snarling hounds as the cavalry, just like lining up to charge your front line. Ooh, man, I would not want to be a warrior on the other side and be torn to shreds by these crazy beasts. They are really intimidating and awesome creatures. And probably, I think like in the last video, I was talking about how Eden was really early in the development process, but same with Lila. Like, she's gone through a couple of different looks and some transformation over the years, but I've always known, I'm like, I really want a big black hound. I want a cool giant black hound for Zahra to ride. So that one has also been consistent through the development process, but I finally nailed down the look and feel, and I was like, ooh, I love hyenas. I love their general look, so I kind of made a hyena hybrid original creature-ish thing. And it just finally felt right. So there's Zahra, there's an intro to her and her companion Lila, and I loved drawing these two, and it was so fun to finally get a chance to draw them again. Alright guys, we are all done with all the Zahra stuff for this first week. I had a blast drawing her. It was the same with Ina. It's just so nice to revisit this character and be able to draw her again, because it's been a while since I've actually been able to sit down and draw Fox Among Hounds stuff. So this was just awesome to do, and I had so much fun being able to do it. And I'm gonna plug this again. If you guys would like to help me make this a thing, you know, make it my full-time gig so I can make comics, I'd super appreciate your support over on my Patreon. Over there, I'm offering a Monster of the Month. If you're a D&D player, I make a custom monster with stats and lore that basically you can get every month. There's also like sketch postcards, there's a poster and sticker club, lots of different goodies you can get, and by doing that, you're also supporting me and potentially giving me the ability to make comics. You know, once I reach a certain goal, I can like quit my full-time job and just do this. So I'd really appreciate your support over on Patreon, and then also check down in the comments below. My Kickstarter is coming to an end soon. I put a little ad at the beginning of this as well. But as of recording this, we're at 85% done, and we're so close to making this happen. And we're probably in the last like 24 to 48 hours when you see this video. So really would appreciate your support. But anyway, thank you guys so much for stopping by and checking out this video. I hope you're enjoying OC-Tober and getting to learn more about all my little OCs. And next week, we're going to be doing one of my baby first OCs from like high school. So get ready for that. Anyway, see you guys later. Have a great weekend. Bye, everybody. Just wanted to take a quick second to thank all my patrons over on Patreon. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for your support. And if you guys want to get some good goodies, I know I already said it, go check out my Patreon. But anyway, thank you guys for stopping by and checking out this video, and I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.